California voters appear to be more unhappy than ever with their elected leaders and the partisanship that seems to be engulfing Sacramento. Indeed, according to a recent poll released by the Public Policy Institute of California, approval ratings for the governor and the legislature are at all-time lows. Only 1 in 4 likely voters approve of the job the governor is doing, and even fewer likely voters, less than 10%, approve of the job that the legislature is doing. In a state capital known for hyper-partisanship, the Legislative Analyst's Office, or the LAO, is an anomaly, with a reputation for providing accurate, unbiased information on fiscal and policy matters. And that means that, regardless of party, lawmakers rarely challenge the LAO's findings, an unusual circumstance considering the political posturing that often surrounds many policy debates at the Capitol. This led Capital Weekly, a leading newspaper covering California politics, to recently note that, quote, in the Capitol's incessant budget battles, one of the most important warriors is as crucial to the debate as he is unknown to the public, the legislative analyst Mac Taylor. We'll talk to the state's current legislative analyst and get his prescriptions to fix what ails California on a range of issues, including what has caused California's chronic fiscal mess that year after year seems to have the state on the precipice of a financial disaster? What is California's current budget situation? How can we corral the state's ballooning debt? And what can be done to improve the budget process?
From Fresno, the Maddy Report with your host, Mark Kepler.
Welcome. Established in 1941, California's Legislative Analyst Office, or the LAO, is the first office of its kind in the nation established to, quote, ascertain facts and make recommendations concerning the state budget with a view to reducing cost and securing greater efficiency. In short, the LAO is charged with calling it as they see it, or put another way, speaking truth to power. The current LAO is Mac Taylor. He may not be a household name in California, but mention him at the state capitol and just about everyone will praise him as an independent voice on fiscal matters from budgets to ballot initiatives. We are indeed fortunate to have him as our guest today. Welcome, Mac Taylor, to the Maddy Report.
Thank you.
First of all, I just want to have people understand what the LA does and how they go about helping the legislature make better decisions.
Well, I think in 2 basic ways. First of all, we just provide information to them about state programs, how they work, who they serve, any questions that they might have. You have members coming up to Sacramento from a wide variety of occupations or backgrounds, and so we just try to help them in whatever way we can to help them do their job.
So you're nonpartisan?
We are absolutely nonpartisan. We've operated like that over our 70-year period, so that we'll serve both Democrats, Republicans, people in the Senate, people in the House.
Okay.
But we've tried to go beyond that by analyzing state programs to see if they can be done more efficiently. That is, can they do the same thing for less cost, or can they be more effective? They might be spending their money well, but they're not actually achieving the goal that the legislature wants them to. So we go in and look at programs and then report our findings and make recommendations to the legislature about how to make things work a little better.
Which is a little different than the federal Congressional Budget Office. They don't make recommendations, but you do?
That's true. Otherwise, though, I'd say we're pretty similar in that they will provide information to members of Congress, they'll provide options, they'll analyze programs. So I'd say we're very similar in that we serve those legislative bodies.
Well, you know, the LAO is probably best known for its work on the budget, and Dan Weintraub, a veteran Sacramento Bee reporter, has a unique way of describing your work. He said, quote, think of the LAO as the conscience of the Capitol. Collectively, they are the skunk that ruins the budget garden party the governor and the legislature would otherwise enjoy each year. So what do you think he meant by that?
Well, Mark, it's not my favorite analogy to be compared to a skunk, but I think what Dan...
I think he means that in a good way.
I think he did. I think what he means is that the legislature has given us the independence to kind of, as you said, kind of call it as we see it, and that means not pulling any punches. So that if we have information that maybe in some cases members would rather not hear, we still try to provide that to them to make sure that they're taking into account all the information they need to. And so I think it's that not pulling any punches is what Dan was referring to.
I'm going to do a quick analysis of where does the money come from and where does it go. So let's first talk about where does the money come from. I think there's some confusion among folks on that issue.
Sure, and I think you have a chart on that. Basically, this is the revenue for the state's general fund. That's the monies that basically get spent for any purpose. And over half of it comes from the personal income tax. That's the biggest source of our revenue, and it's grown dramatically over the last couple of decades.
Okay, let me go to the second question. That is how is money spent? Is going to education primarily?
Primarily to education, either K-12, our school districts, or to higher education, our colleges, Fresno State, and our universities, and our community colleges.
Okay, well, up next we're going to discuss the state budget, this year's state budget, and what's going to happen to deal with the $20 billion deficit that we might be facing. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report.